Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Game Week 15 of the FPL Addicts Preview Podcast. Sorry we're a bit late on this evening. Friday night, where we are, it is 10 to 11 p.m. It is past Chaz's bedtime, but he has made it onto the Game Week 15 pod. He has just been tying his mullet up in a knot in his man bun, ready for his bedtime. But Chaz, you've joined us. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Good, thank you, Jack. Nice to see you, Rev, as well. I'm just waiting for your bedtime story to me, to be fair with you.
We've got some, listen, you might be dreaming of FPL tonight as we send you away with lots of discussion points and lots to think over. Rev, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, man, I'm really good. Got my Friday day off, ready to talk some FPL, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
How good are FPL Fridays? And don't forget, the FPL Addicts podcast is sponsored by Bonus Bank and powered by Esports Live. If you are new around here and you've just joined us and it is late at night in Australia, thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and get involved in the comments just before bed. It is all about FPL this evening. And if you are just starting your day or in the afternoon in the UK, as the Reverend is, the sunshine is just glaring on his face right now if you're not watching. Oh, he's got... I love that.
Mate, that's just the good Lord shining down on me, you know?
That is it, mate. The holiest of the holy. But if you are in the UK, you're listening live, you can jump in the comments too. And if you are listening on podcast, please do give us a rating and leave your review. That would be fantastic. We've got, plenty to get into. Like I said, we are running behind schedule this evening, so we are going to get stuck in. Discussion points of Game Week 14. We know this is all about Newcastle. Listen, since Elliot stopped coming on the podcast in the last few weeks, Newcastle are absolutely flying. And there's obviously a couple of guys in there. One of them made the thumbnail this evening. The other one made the thumbnail last week. We are talking about Miggy and Chris Wilson and Callum Wilson, of course. Rev, we'll go to you first, mate. Let's talk about that 4-0 win.
Mate, yeah, Newcastle absolutely flying after a 4-0 win against a really inconsistent Aston Villa side. The question for FPL managers is it's not about which Newcastle asset are you going to bring into your team. It's about which Newcastle asset are you going to leave out. At the moment, as far as I'm concerned, the triple up is well and truly on. And for me, you know, the two staples are going to be Trips, obviously, and then Wilson, Callum Wilson. If he's fit, he's firing. If he's fit, he scores goals. And so as long as he's, you know, staying healthy and you know, FPL Twitter don't go into too much of a meltdown, you know, thinking that he's got a little bit of a sniffle this week, you know, you'll have to go through all the duty managers to make sure he can get the time off. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, those two are the staples. The question for me is it going to be Pope or Miggy that takes in that final slot?
Yeah, and it's a difficult choice, isn't it? Because like they have surprised us in the form, but like Trips, he seems to be on these bonus points as well. He seems to be like a bonus point fiend, doesn't he?
He is the absolute hero of FPL this season. He's the hero we needed but didn't deserve. And you know, if you know, way back when you picked him up at the start, you know, for a very small fee. I can't believe he was priced at 5. Was he 5 mil?
5 mil, yeah.
5 mil. He's now worth 6, and that just tells you everything that you need to know about Trippier and his form, and also Newcastle and the work that Eddie Howe is doing. So yeah, man, Newcastle absolutely flying. Yeah,
cheers for your insight in there. I'm sure, no doubt, a lot of managers are looking at this triple up if they haven't made it already, based on obviously the last couple of weeks' performance, and also the numbers where the price rises because of the ownership is absolutely booming in there as well. Chaz, anything from you to touch on with Newcastle? The Toon Army?
I just love it. Miggy Almiron. He's just come to the phone. Miggy, I loved the podcast 4 weeks ago, and now everyone just seems to be jumping on board. what a special man he is. What a well-taken goal too. He's just on fire at the moment. And I just suggest just get on to him before the World Cup begins.
Is this still... Do you think this is still a thing then? Do you think you have to get him in and there's no choice about it? There's no doubt about it. You have to get him in. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying right now. The way Newcastle are playing, they're looking relatively unstoppable. And if I had the choice to find a third Newcastle player out of the two between Pope and Miguel Almiron, I know Newcastle a lot better defensively and statistically, that is shown too. But I think attacking-wise, they got so much flair about them at the moment. It'd be hard to sort of leave Almiron out and his creativity.
God, a lot of managers wouldn't have thought been saying this halfway through the season, but as FPL does, it does spring surprises on us. There's always the hero, as Rev mentioned, that we didn't know we needed, but is exactly what you want right now. Let's get on to a team who aren't doing so well. It's been a strange season for the red part of Liverpool. Mikey, from an Evertonian, let's get a bit of your analysis on this. What's happened there.
I think Liverpool, and this isn't just so much the bias against them that I have speaking. These stats are speaking against them as well. They deserve to be losing. Maybe you could argue that they were a bit unlucky against Leeds, because even though Liverpool lost 2-1 to Leeds, the difference in XG between both sides was quite minimal, to be honest. And so, it's like, I just look at that team and think, what do they need to change? What needs to happen? But as far as I'm concerned, to go from last season to having like an obligatory triple up on Liverpool, otherwise you were just dead as an FPL manager, to going from that to this point in the season where if you have even one Liverpool asset, it's damaging. It's damaging. And the managers who are doing really well at the moment are people who have cast off those shackles, so to speak.
Yeah, it's been a strange old season, and we've had the likes of the big priced assets. Sal's come back into a lot of teams as well, but he's been obviously a lot of people have shipped him off as well. And we'll probably kind of get into what assets to be looking at if you are. But you've got a couple of points that you've raised on there. You've talked about the XG. Obviously a couple of defeats. For Pep's team. Well, you got a couple of extra points there you want to mention. I've saw Nunes in disguise somewhere.
Mate, Nunes is, in terms of his stats, is basically Adama Traore in disguise.
Without
all the XG, all the expected goal involvement, and no end product. No end product, mate. He needs to be clinical. He needs to finish his dinner. And it's not just going forward where they're having problems. It's at the back, like Joe Gomez with an absolute moment of sheer madness at the back last week. And I think it's fair to say that we can target Liverpool with our attacking FPL assets going forward. So, for example, if you're sat there on Harry Kane, which I know I am, and I know you are, Jack, as well. But I think I'm licking my lips, looking forward to that fixture. I think Harry Kane could have a little cheeky feast in him. Could be eating at the Burger King,
Yeah,
he could be laughing it all up, mate. There he is. Oi! He could be feasting. Yeah, could see a Harry Kane feast this week.
Sorry, could I just ask one question?
Go on, Chaz.
So this Burger King thing's come up the last couple of weeks. Where did this joke start exactly? Or did I just fly past my head?
I think it was Reggie and Reverend used to work at Burger King.
No, I used to work at a Burger King, mate. Yeah. But before I was vicaring, yeah.
Usually
they'll let anyone be a reverend these days,
On the holy pathway, you start at Burger King. But I think
even Jesus started as a humble carpenter, So
I think the thing was, Reedy on his green screen, on his virtual background a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? He had Salah as the king, and then we got onto Burger King. Obviously, that's where it came from.
That was the biggest tangent I think I've ever seen in an FPL podcast, bar none. This is the content you subscribe for, by the way, guys. Just letting you know.
Listen, we love this stuff, and not only did we subscribe for that, we've got a lot to get through today. We've obviously got a lot of discussion for the preview. We need to go through how our mini leagues are performing, but obviously later on we've got the CC with Chaz as well, the captain's corner. Obviously we know he does like to go to bed early, so we will get through this podcast as fast as possible for the mullet himself. He's got to be up early, I presume, because he is a triathlete these days as well. How's your triathlon going? Training? Chaz?
It's going good, thank you. Yeah, we've got our first race in over 3 weeks. But in fairness, I just got to go to the airport tomorrow. I'm off to Hobart, so.
It's off to Hobart. What are you doing in Hobart, mate?
I know. I'm watching the comedian show with Sam Payne, Mick Malloy, Marty Sheargold, and Glenn Robbins. So,
blimey, what a lineup!
I know it's a good.
Yeah,
lineup.
I'm training for a triathlon against the shark. So at the moment, I'm the better runner, and the shark's the better swimmer. So it all comes down to who's the better cyclist.
That is brilliant. That is so good.
Oh my God. Right, let's get on to Brighton and Chelsea. That was a cracker of a game. It was against all the odds, for sure. I thought this was going to be a draw, to be fair, but obviously Brighton absolutely smashed Chelsea in the end, didn't they? Rev, I know you've got a couple of points on this one you want to raise because you didn't do your review show this week because of Reedy.
Yeah.
But let's get through this bit.
Unfortunately. But yeah, Graham Potter's men with the disaster class, to be honest. They're 2 own goals there. And also, Brighton fully deserving of their win. Brighton registering a total of 2.08 XG compared to Graham Potter's men's 1.22 XG. Some notes from that is that, like, so far, Brighton have impressed against Man City and Chelsea. And so, part of me is wondering, can Brighton just be fixture proof? That's a question that we're looking at, especially if a certain Belgian continues to impress, and he was the main feature of my hot tip as well this week, and that's Leandro Trossard. His points and his stats and his goals and his contributions and his minutes, they are just something in FPL that continue to speak for themselves, and unfortunately for myself, I've got other fires to put out this week in my FPL team. Otherwise, I'd just be bringing them straight in.
Yeah, Brighton have certainly impressed. Even with the manager change, it was such a strange period, wasn't it? 'Cause normally a manager, obviously, you're not doing well, they get sacked. New manager bounce comes in. To leave to another club in the same division, when the team's doing so good, it's a bit of a strange time for the new managers to come in. But he's kind of done well, hasn't he? He has impressed, and Trossard being the main man, he looked great at the start. He looked great last season. Trossard, really exciting player, and he's definitely stepped up as the main man as well in that team, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And I think, if he can do what he's done against Man City and Chelsea, then FPL managers can just be licking the lips this week as he's going to be facing a really like a struggling Wolves side. A struggling Wolves side. They are not doing so well defensively. That I think they're missing a certain talismanic Connor Cody, who
he's done all right for you boys.
I just love that guy. He's brilliant.
I can't just to touch on Evan. I listened to a bit of a podcast last week just with Tarkowski, and he was saying obviously how much of a relationship now he's got with Cody and how much of an impact he's made. Them both now partnered. They didn't look great in a 3, did they? When they were the 3 at the start, and now they've just got into the 2. The 4-4. He played 4. I don't know. He played 4-2-3-1 or whatever. But they're playing 4 at the back now, right? Yeah. And it's them two have now built up such a solid relationship. Obviously, Pickford's on good form as well. Yeah, getting ready for his World Cup, obviously bid. But it's they're looking good. Those trio in there, aren't they?
Yeah, mate. I'm really impressed by them because I think at the moment we are conceding chances, but the commitment in stopping them, the bodies that are on the line for Everton right now, some people, including myself, would have said last week maybe we were lucky to keep a clean sheet against Fulham, and we were. But at the same time, you've got to credit our defenders. But just quickly back to Brighton for a moment is that Trossard can bank against Wolves quite easily, and then they play Aston Villa, who Aston Villa are a side that we do have to keep an eye on. Obviously, missed a good evening did arrive in Birmingham, and he, we have to keep an eye on what he'll do with that Villa side, because previous to this week, Villa were a side that we could just target, and but yeah, so hopefully he'll bang against them as well. Chazza?
I'm just going to be dead honest about Brighton. They're one of those sides which tend to win most of the time against the top teams, excluding Man City for a majority of it. But when they're playing games they're expected to win, I think they fall below performance expectations of themselves. So it wouldn't surprise me if Wolves get something out of that, even a draw. And for the Villa game, potentially Villa win that just due to the new manager bounce. It's still within that honeymoon period for Unai Emery. Good evening.
I think we're all reading the comment that's just come through.
I mean, I could hear your voice, Chazza, but I couldn't see you. Like, what's going on, Chazza? Do you need 50p for the meter, mate?
Nah,
yes,
I just turned the light off.
I mean, for those listening at home, to be fair, it is past Chaz's bedtime. He is a baby, to be fair. He's the baby of the pod.
Listen, he puts that much effort into the captain's corner and the research and the stats that he does. He needs to go to bed early because he just burnt so much energy last night, doing his research, and
he's just had a kebab.
He just smashed a souvlaki here, so
yeah.
Fair enough. But thanks for joining the comments, Colm. All the bit of banter, mate, and anyone else who's listening at home, please do give us a like, drop us a subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for joining us. And make sure you jump in the comments, and we'll try and get around to any comments that you drop in. But let's get into the review for our teams for last week. We'll jump in. I'm just going to bring up the league. Oh, look at that. Still hanging in there somehow. But let's have a look at the bottom of the league to start off with. Reedy's Renegades. He delivered 58 points this week, taking him to 735 points. Reedy, bottom of the league. Thank God. Let him stay there as well. But second from bottom in the league, this guy's on a bit of bad form. He can throw it. I don't think he ever listens to his own advice. Never listens to his own advice. And his team is now 742 points, 7 points above Reedy, but dropped down to 5th in the podcast league. Not a good form from this guy, one of the veterans of FPL.
Yeah.
Mikey, talk us through your team, mate.
Yeah, it all started when I started to bring in Liverpool assets over the past few weeks. We saw Salah, and then he went out, and then we saw Robertson, and he went out, and then we saw Darwin this week again, and now he's already out. Spoiler alert for the transfers. Just to say that
don't give away too much, mate.
For the second week in a row, I've transferred in someone a Liverpool player who I've gone on to captain for a -4, and that said captain has blanked, and then I've sold him straight away again for another -4, and that just goes to show the type of free fall that I'm in at the moment. For me, it was a really poor week. Obviously, Kepa getting injured as well. Like, my goalkeeper woes just continue. It's a bit of a meme on the pod at the moment that me and my goalkeeper picks are just seemingly cursed and not blessed, which is, you'd expect better from the FPL reverend.
Ward needs to be playing every week for you, regardless.
Yeah, I know. He just hates me, man. I think he just knows. I think he watches the pod, and then just took it real personal when I took him out, and then the back three kind of somewhat rescuing the team. But if you'd have told me,
he's carrying, is it not called carrying?
Absolutely carrying it. That their back is going to be so sore by the end of this year, mate. Just from carrying my team all the way. If you'd have told me, by the way, at the start of game week 14, that my front three of Kane, Darwin, and Haaland, between them, would manage a total of 3 FPL points, I'd have been devastated, man. Like, and then, the fact that Saka came off after like half an hour, another differential of mine, and then Reece Nelson, who comes back on, gets 2 goals and an assist. It's just it's just the pie in the face stuff that has been happening to me week in, week out over FPL. You know, Foden, another victim of Pep Roulette, someone else who I've brought in, and then Zaha blanking again. Yeah, it's just one of them. I feel like I've been making good transfers. I feel like I've been, you know, paying attention to the numbers, paying attention to these stats, and all of a sudden, you know, we just don't get anywhere. And Eben in the chat, a friend of mine who is a Newcastle fan, he's loving life. He's saying, let's read out my game week rank, and that's 8,734,652.
How do you feel about
I feel hard done by,
that?
to be honest. Feel really hard done by, because I'm going by the stats. I'm going by, you know, the numbers. I'm trying to think about what the best fixtures are to
There's a lot of numbers in that rank.
There are, mate. There are. And sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say, what can you do? But at the same time, you know, we've got 2/3 of the season still to go. You know, it's a long season left. And I feel like if I do keep making good decisions, then hopefully, eventually I'll turn it around. At least I hope so anyway.
And listen, we hope so, because you're starting to sound very negative like Reed here. It can only get better, man. Right?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, if you look at my team on paper,
yeah,
it looks really good. And so, you know, just, you know, follow the Rev Zone advice and just keep the faith a little bit.
Yeah, well, keep the faith, mate. We know you've got it in you. You've got some, you know, you're doing a lot of research in there, and it's definitely going to pay off, mate. And I think similar to Liverpool's form, mate, in the new, you know, after the World Cup, it's going to be your time. And you know, those above you will be listening to your tips instead of their own, I think. But elsewhere, let's move on. Someone who did have a good week this week, and he got the most in our league, is Ollie Walker-Peel. Not on tonight, he's out working, but 68 points he delivered. He had a better game week rank of 3 million. Let's get my W's and R's right there. But his back four was elite in there with Cancelo, Dalot, and Trips and Gehi. His pick from last year is delivered for him. He's got his midfield, Martinelli, Salah, Andreas, and Almiron, and up top, Kane and Tony. Really good week from Ollie, and you know, he's turned up a good bit of form in recent weeks as well. So well done, buddy, on you. You're fourth in the league, above Mikey and Reedy. And elsewhere, the guy who needs a lantern for his room, it is Mr. Chaz Roberts himself. Here we go. Lights on or out? The lights are on. Oh.
The lights are on, but no one's home, mate.
That's...
There you go.
The lights are off as well. Is Chaz using a lantern? Go
on, Chaz. Take it away, mate.
I won't say too much, but it feels it was one of those game weeks where you scored quite highly, but other managers around the world just had better game week than you. Safe to say. But captain delivered, which was good. It was.
I feel like that's FPL every week.
Yeah, it's just. I just feel usually with a score of 60, you probably get a game week rank of 3 million or less. But this is 5.3 million this time around, and a red arrow down 400,000 places. Let's start with the team. Sanchez, I really forgot what happened to his 5. Yeah, outside 7 saves and a bonus point. That was good against the Chelsea. Trippier was massive. Cancelo was good. Zaha's becoming the flop of South London, not the pride of South London. Almiron, honestly, raising the roof right now, like Lloyd Owusu did back in October. Salah delivered his captaincy with a goal against Leeds. Saka got an assist, then got injured, and early bath time, and the rest were just rubbish. That's all my team consisted of for game week 14.
Yeah, listen, like you say, it's a good score above the average. It was a pretty, fairly high average this week. Hence, obviously, you're not too happy about where your rank is there. Are you having nightmares about that Almiron not in your wild card? Are you still kicking us a lot for that? How do you feel?
Look, you can't think about the past too much. You just got to carry on vibing. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, you vibe, mate. I love that. Great attitude.
Well, you see, this is the song. I got 5 vibes from you, and anywhere between, I got you. You know the rest, but yeah, there you go.
It's not quite a podcast, is it? Unless Chaz bears salt into song. To be fair,
and before CC as well. I love it.
Fast like 20 minutes ago.
He's suddenly woken up just to sing that song.
Yeah. You had a Sublaki half an hour ago. So is that like Sublaki in bed? Is that usually what you do straight away?
Fairness, you just pushed back the time till 10:30, so I needed something to keep me awake.
Love it. Just nip out, get a Sublaki. What do you have on it?
No, I made sure it was delivered at home.
Oh, what a guy. Uber Eats home.
Oh, what a luxury.
Not sponsored, by the way. Right. Elsewhere, let's have a look at the rest of this competition that we're in, this podcast mini league. I feel like I've been dominating this league for ages and it's just getting a bit boring. I need a bit of competition at the top.
Oh, what a terrible life you lead. Shut up, lads.
Mate, Elliot Craig, a bit like Newcastle form. Elliot Craig is right behind me. Second place, 62 points this week, 760 points. He's up to 2 million in the world overall. I had a terrible week, 51 points. I took a hit in there as well. My rank isn't as bad as yours, Rev, but it was right up there. Back 4, doing the business for me. Guaita 9 points, Trips 11, Cancelo 6, and Ben White who brought in 6 points. Happy days. I did take a -4 for bringing Rashi in, which I was happy with the pick, but he delivered there with the goal, 8 points. But as Chaz said, Zaha becoming a bit of a fraud now. I am over him. Andreas with 3, Foden with 1. Disappointing with him, but I think now these next 2 fixtures for City is looking exciting. I reckon, obviously, with him being rested with minutes wise, if we just look now, they've got Fulham at home and Brentford at home. I feel like Foden's going to be starting these two and absolutely rip it up. And we had Bailey in there as well, who made the team because Haaland didn't make it. Kane and Tony up top. And then on my bench, Haaland, Cresswell, and Nico Williams. So, 51 points, not a great week, not a great rank. And, moving on quickly from there, I think. But I'm happy. I'm still top of the league. Thank God your form isn't great because I should be, down and out.
Are you top of the league, mate? You haven't mentioned it.
Oh, got to mention that a few times. I can't believe I've lasted this long. So every week, I told you, I'm just going to reiterate it. Top of the league. Unbelievable. I'm terrible at FPL, to be fair.
We are collectively terrible at FPL.
I think we're showing pure class from us all this season. We'll move on from there. Enjoying the being top, like I said. So just one more time, I'll throw it out there. Rev, you love it, don't you? I just do this to wind you two up, to be fair. And Reedy just doesn't even talk to me anymore. I think he's over it.
But he's been avoiding it for ever since he went bottom, hasn't he?
Yeah. Elsewhere, let's have a look in our mini leagues. So a big shout out to Game Week 14 Manager of the Week, David Watts. So Statman Dave, he was on the podcast, last 2 seasons. We haven't seen much of him at all in the last year, to be fair. But a legend, a great guy, and he's managed to actually deliver something for once. This is his first award. So Manager of the Week, 82 points, Statman Dave. Congratulations, Statman. Big shout out to you, mate. Long time no see, and hope you're doing well. Elsewhere in the public league, Bambi, first place, Innocent FC, 880 points. He hauled 85 this week. What an incredible score that was. In the women's, Mira still top, still I think she's been top now for about 8 weeks. 859 points, incredible overall score so far. And then finally in our members head-to-head league, 16 managers in there playing head-to-head against each other each week. The admin team is doing all right. However, top of the league, Donald is still top, but he did lose this week to Josh Carnevale in the head-to-head. So his game on there, Donald on 32 points and Josh is on 31. So it is getting exciting in that mini league. Moving on into Bonus Bank, their fantasy football tips with their tool, which is free to use. You can get that from our link tree. It is in the comments below. So jump in there and you can use this free fantasy football tool to help you. It might help you in your mini leagues, or it might help you make those final transfers. If you are pondering what to look at, what assets to look at. So in third place this week for clean sheet probabilities, Newcastle are up there. They are doing things this season. So Newcastle, a 34% chance of a clean sheet versus Southampton away from home. Obviously, we've already talked about the assets in there with the defensive assets, Pope and Trips. So they are backing them on there with the bookies odds that the probabilities do use. In second place, West Ham of all teams against Crystal Palace with a clean sheet. I do have Cresswell in there. I think it is a good fixture, and Zaha isn't exactly smashing it, so I think it could be a good shout. So 38%
West Ham
chance of a probability.
defensively, by the way, just in terms of XG, XGC, sorry, expected goals conceded, they're doing fantastically at the moment. Genuinely, like they are one of the teams to target for defenders. So if you are like yourself with a West Ham defender, you can consider yourself pretty privileged right now.
Yeah, fair enough. I think there's some good stats to back that up there. So obviously the bookies do fancy this clean sheet in there, and the probabilities have turned out 38%. In first place, City, who are always kind of top of these probabilities charts. They're playing Fulham this week, don't forget. They are playing Fulham at home, 49% chance of a clean sheet in there. So if you have got the likes of Cancelo, I think Laporte is coming back into the action as well now. So another maybe asset to look out in there for your defensive assets going to the next two games. Okay, on to players to score probabilities. Third place. Now, this guy, I'm a bit surprised by. He was a great asset in previous seasons, been injury prone as Patrick Bamford, third place, a 38% chance. Could be, that alternative to Tony in there. A nice little pick. I do like that, to be fair. Second place, Alvarez, Haaland's backup, 52% chance. And Haaland's still in there just because of obviously, if he is going to play, look like he will score. Not too sure, but we'll go to the medical clinic shortly with whoever knows what is going on out there. 68% chance with Haaland to score against Fulham this week if he plays. But Alvarez is quite good at 52% chance. But let's get into the preview for this week. We are just going to touch on Newcastle once again, of course. Rev, over to you, mate. Who are we picking from Newcastle? Who needs to go in the team for this week?
All of them. All of them. And I think that's something that I've moved on this week. For myself, there's no prizes for guessing that I've taken another hit. I am the pod's new hitman. And
we've talked about this. We've got the hitman and the shitman, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm only just avoiding taking both of those titles by about 7 points. So, I'm not going to say too much in case Reedy batters me this week. But yeah, they are, Wilson and Almiron, just absolutely flying. So, defo be bringing them in. And just in terms of preview, we do have a couple of questions in the chat column. As said, Rev, I brought Patterson into the starting lineup for Anderson this game week. I think that's a great shout. I think Everton at home are really good. And just on the back of that, Tom Turner as well has said, should we be playing Neco Williams versus Brentford or Castagne versus Everton? Everton are a different beast at home. They really are. If Everton were away, I would definitely say Castagne. But because Everton are at home, I would say Neco Williams, because also Ivan Toney is out as well. So they are going to be feeling a little bit toothless at the moment. And so
get this one as well,
yeah,
for you, mate,
and Tom,
while you're on.
He says, what do we think about Mitrovic? I've got Mitrovic, Haaland, and Firmino as strikers. I don't know whether to have Mitrovic as my backup on the bench or take a -4 for a transfer. I think, looking to take Mitrovic out is possibly a good move. I don't like Fulham's fixtures, but at the same time, Mitrovic has proved that he's a little bit fixture-proof this season, and just because he didn't score against Everton, there are loads of teams who struggle against Everton, mate. So they're just a really good side. But yeah, I'd just
Have
keep
you
the
been on
faith.
the Peroni as well, mate, or what?
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. I'd just keep the faith with him, mate. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing Mitrovic. He is on pens. Fulham could always get a cheeky pen, and I just don't think it's worth the -4, mate.
No, fair enough. Rev. Elsewhere, so we've touched on obviously Newcastle assets there. We've got Wilson, who is nearly 1 million managers. Probably by the end of this podcast, it'll be 1 million managers who have brought him in this week. Is the move from Tony, as you mentioned. Almiron, 665,000 managers have brought him in, and Trossard, 525. Ozspike, who is our Brighton analyst, and he went to, I think, about, I don't know, how many games did he go to last season, Ozspike? I think it went to about 15, 20 home games, 15 home games last season. So every credit to you when you were back in the UK, now back in Perth, I believe. But his tip last week was Trossard. He goes big against the 6 clubs. And I think that's what Chaz was saying as well. Goes great. Brighton go well against the big clubs, so it kind of backs it up as well. And Ozspike there, just saying he went to all the games last year, so all 19 home games. So every credit to him for being an Australian resident as well. So real effort. Yes, mate, go
on. I've actually got a question for Ozspike. I just want him to put in a good analysis on what the fish and chips are like down by the seaside. That's all I really care about.
Well, hang on. So got a bit of an update. Just he went to all the games last year, home and away. So he went to all 38 games. So I do stand corrected. So he knows about this Brighton team and how good they are and what they're possible. So unreal commitment. And listen, there's actually a big argument here, Chazza, because obviously I'm from Blackpool. Ozspike is from Brighton. We're both by the seaside, and Blackpool has better fish and chips than Brighton. Okay. So let's see. I don't know what Ozspike. Well, I presume he'll say Brighton, right? But Blackpool do have the best fish and chips. So I'll let that argument sit there. Mikey, I presume you've been to Blackpool versus Brighton.
Yeah. I've got to say, mate.
Don't you say speak have the best fish and chips,
mate? They really don't. Nah, man. It's Blackpool all the way. Sorry, Ozspike, man.
There you go. And
as much as I hate to agree with Jack, the fish and chips in Blackpool are elite. So
yeah, they are elite. Sorry, and Ozspike has jumped in saying Brighton are the best, but
plus there's too many seagulls in Brighton. They just keep attacking you, mate. They want a piece of it.
One more. I'm sure this is the last question in relation to this. Who's got the better mushy peas?
Oh, Blackpool, mate. Absolutely. Mushy peas, big time.
I think mushy peas are mushy peas, aren't they? What a tangent.
Listen, curry sauce, gravy. Up north is where you want to be, Chaz. So I know when you go at Christmas time, during December, you have to go up north and go.
Yeah, he's coming to my house, mate.
Come on to the Rev's house.
Yeah, man.
Listen, all I want to see is you two on the stream eating a chippy.
Yeah, man. We'll get a good scran in. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, Chazza, listen, if you want a taste of Northern chippy, mate, there's a place called Northern Soul in St Kilda. So go and check that out, mate. It is absolutely class. A couple of Manchester.
Brand new sponsor for the channel.
I'm actually going to ring them and say, listen, we get a lot of Northerners watching. Listen, we're always chasing a sponsor on this podcast, so this is what we want. I want chippy all season. Delivered would be brilliant instead of a soother. But anyway, listen, we're getting a bit distracted. We finished on at Brighton, didn't we, with Trossard? Most transferred out this week. Now, these are obviously obvious ones. Tony, 1 million out, so it just shows Wilson was the move, straightforward move. A couple of people obviously have gone differential, maybe in the Metro, or they've had enough cash in the bank to go to upgrade, or they've gone for a cheaper asset and upgrade the midfield. But Foden was the second most transferred out so far with nearly 250,000 and Zaha 240. So, I think, Foden and Zaha, listen, I've got all three of them. I'd happily transfer them all out as well. But I think Foden's going to be big. I'm surprised by the Foden one, if I'm honest. I feel like the next 2 games he's just going to play. He's going to bag 2 hat-tricks back-to-back. You heard it here first.
I know. It is an interesting question. What do we do with Foden? Because he did play 90 minutes in a pointless Champions League game in the middle of this week, which is kind of telling me, maybe Pep isn't going to use him. But at the same time, like, if he plays, you're in serious trouble because we know exactly
he's going to be banging, isn't he?
Do, man.
Yeah.
And so I just think if you're in that privileged position to be able to wait for team news and see, what happens tomorrow when lineups are getting leaked, etc., then, wait to see what to do with Foden. But at the moment, he's just a hold for me because I've got other fires to put out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously, Tony was that priority for a lot of managers out there, as we've already seen. But talking about injuries and knocks, like, obviously we've got to talk about Saka and Haaland, more so Haaland, I guess. Have any of you boys seen much news about where we're at with these two assets?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So two of the assets that I own had the old Dorito of death next to them, and saying they had knocks and had a particular percentage chance of playing. Since then, Bukayo Saka has been pictured in training, all smiling and happy. His Twitter account has been quite active. And so, he is looking like he's quite fresh. So it was probably just a little bit of a knock that he took. That said, I think Arteta will probably still be wise to just give him about 60, 70 minutes this week, just coming off the back of last week where he was subbed off. And then Erling Haaland as well, another player who has been pictured in main first team training after being out. He wasn't pictured in the Champions League training, but he was recently just pictured with the rest of the first team in preparation for the Fulham game. So the thing about Haaland, if he's fit, he starts. He's just an absolute no-brainer. One of the first names on that team sheet for me. So I reckon he plays.
There you go. And it is a tasty one versus Fulham, of course. I'm sure a lot of managers are excited about that one. And obviously we'll speak about captain, so I'll leave that one for a moment. Chazza, how are you feeling? Obviously you're an Arsenal fan. Saka, all good?
I think he's all good, but I was just gonna replay your quote about tasty. You said it's gonna be bloody tasty, baby.
Gonna be tasty, mate. But it's like I said, it's going to be interesting. That could be such a big haul if Haaland is fit, and the Haaland will be back. So moving on to the next points, let's have a look. Last week, Rev, you were talking up your Everton assets with DCL. Is that still the case? Is that a good replacement for Tony?
Yeah, I think in terms of Tony replacements, there are a few options, and also bonus bankers just put in another cheeky option in Patrick Bamford as well, which is quite a really interesting shout actually. Because Leeds have looked quite dangerous. And by the way, I'm too bright. Chaz is too dark at the moment. But yeah, I think for me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you could have a little bit of a feast versus Leicester, and I just think Leicester have been a little bit questionable defensively, and but at the same time, I think the main stat that I'm going to be looking at is if the FPL Rev is forced to play Danny Ward in goal, Leicester are conceding about 5, which I am. Okay, so DCL is probably the pick this week because Kepa Arrizabalaga is out, and I'm forced to play Ward, which just means I'm going to get a -2 from him, obviously, because that's just the way my season's gone.
Yeah, you've had a bit of a stinker on you. I'm actually intrigued by this Bamford shout. He's got 0.5 ownership. He obviously hasn't scored a goal all season. He's had a bit of obviously a very troubled season so far. But 0.5 ownership. I'm just going to look on the head-to-head from last season, but my phone's just crashed.
So while you do that, Jack, I'm going to try and bring more light to my face because I've been heavily criticised that I've been too dark.
Oh, well, now you look like something out of the Blair Witch Project.
No, Halloween was last week, mate.
Last week, bro.
How about if Chaz had turned up at your door trick-or-treating? How good would that be? The mullet showing up outside your door on Halloween. Unreal.
If he showed up outside my door, this would be my reaction.
Pep Guardiola on fence. Oh my god, how good's that? At least it wasn't Claire Baldwin anyway.
I mean, to be fair, like anyone who looks like Anthony Gordon gets sweeties for me. we love that guy.
Right, listen, I can't get this up. It's not working. So sack that off. But Bamford could be a huge differential shout. So maybe it's Bournemouth. I think they could score goals. We know they've got a good attacking team. Leeds when they turn up, but he hasn't played many minutes. He turned up against Liverpool, played 38 minutes. Fulham 26 minutes before then. He's lacking match fitness big time. But if they are to play him, what happened to your one, Rodrigo? What about him? Is he a good shout or not?
I think he's a midfielder, mate.
Yeah, I know, but as a midfielder,
criminally out of position at the moment. And yeah,
scored last week,
Rodrigo's just a great shout.
Rodrigo scored last week?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He's just an amazing FPL asset and totally slept on because it's Leeds. And they've had poor fixtures, so that's why no one's been on them. But moving forward, I think Leeds have got a good few a good few fixtures.
Well, they've got Bournemouth at home next, and obviously Tottenham away before. Obviously, Tottenham aren't not beatable, and they're not clean sheet proof, are they? So
yeah, I think definitely after game week 18, we can start looking at Leeds again. But they do play Spurs, City, and then Newcastle, who are like 3 of the top 4 at the moment, top 4, top 5. And so that's going to be a real struggle. But after that, I reckon Leeds are definitely some people to hop on. And so I just reckon if you've not got Callum Wilson already and you're looking for a Tony replacement, the no-brainer move is definitely to go for Callum Wilson. If you're feeling spicy, go for Bamford. And if you're feeling a little bit confident in Everton's home form, then go for DCL.
DCL is one. Now I've got Alex Iwobi on the notes here. Is that from last week's notes?
Yeah,
we left them on there by accident.
From last week.
Is he selling with a shot or not?
It's still an option. I think in
if you're looking for Zaha replacements.
Hey, Rev, yes. I put that note up actually. I just forgot to erase it before the stream.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, well, I mean, he's just highly involved, as Chaz said. You got a little stat for us there as well, Chaz, about Everton's last 8 goals.
Look, to be fair, I'm just trying to work out the symmetrics of this light bulb at the moment in front of me. Then worry about last week's notes from Alex Iwobi.
Yeah, that's
obviously
fair. Well,
we're slacking the notes a bit like I'm slacking with this mustache that I've got.
Yeah.
I know Chaz wanted to say something about that one.
I don't mind it. Hey, the foundations are being built.
Mate, it'll take a while to get to this level and then to this level. It's like baby steps, isn't it?
In it.
I know, man. My patchy beard isn't fooling anyone.
So what happens on Friday? But 2 beers deep now.
Friday again.
Saturday, Sunday's up. Where's the roof?
Where is he? Where's Owusu? We've got to get him on the pod, haven't we? Right. Listen, next up, the EPL Live. Partnered with them this year. They've been absolutely fantastic supporting us. They push content for us on their app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, get on their app and download it. Lightning fast results, all the latest news, captain's articles from the Chazman himself. We've got the hot tip as well, which has just been published on Twitter, on the EPL Live Twitter handle. So go and follow that. The Reverend has posted his hot tip for this week. So if you've not seen that already, jump on there and go and check it out and see what the Reverend's hot tip is for this week. So a big thank you to EPL Live for supporting the podcast this season. And we look forward to working with them even more. So if you are listening directly from the EPL Live app, hello from FPL Addicts. And please do give us a like and a subscribe on the YouTube channel. And if you are listening on the podcast, please do, give us a rating and review if you will. It really does help us spread the word of our nonsense chat that we do have. But let's get on to the next part of the podcast. We are going to go into the panel preview, and this is where we are going to look at what transfers and what moves we are making this week. And then with the grand finale is CC with Chaz, who's going to deliver you some epic captain picks, as well as maybe his curveball differential captain of the week, which I am excited for, as always. But Chaz, we are going to go to you first for your preview for this week. Hopefully you've got a bit more to say than what you said about your review. Are you ready?
I didn't realize you needed my screen shared up, so give me one.
You don't have to get your screen share up, mate. Depends how many moves you're making.
Well, to be fair,
rolling.
I am, yes, rolling. Is it
rolling
up
in
now?
The deep.
Yes, it should be in the background now.
Bam.
Cool. All right. This is where we are, analysis-wise. I haven't really put a lot of thought in this week.
Brilliant.
Tony goes.
That's what we like in this podcast, no thought.
Yeah. 2 for each. See, I feel bad, but when I come on most weeks, I haven't done my transfers. Nothing exciting's occurred. I just wing it in terms of what moves I could make, and half the time I don't even do them as the deadline passes. But here we are, 2 free transfers, 2.3 million in the bank. Looking at this squad, I think Tony needs to go, and potentially one of, I think, Zaha, and then a punt on a midfielder who has a really good 2-game week fixture run.
Foden.
Maybe, yeah. It depends on his...
you can just do Salah to Kevin De Bruyne and Tony to Wilson.
Yeah, good. What about Francesco Totti from Wolves?
I was thinking the same thing. How good for Francesco Totti? I love Totti.
What a player, mate.
Baller.
So,
Mr. Roma.
There's a lot of moves that can be made. Let's say that. I think I'm in a relatively content position heading into game week 15.
Yeah.
I should get away with it.
You don't sound too excited about it. Come on, who excites you this week? Who's your? I know you have not done much thought, as you mentioned, but who are you thinking?
See,
give us something, Chaz. Go on.
Either going to be Callum Wilson,
Oof.
DCL, or Dominic Solanke. One of those three.
Solanke rhymes with.
Yeah, I mean.
Rhymes with Jack's a crank.
Rhymes with low rank.
The Revs low rank. Oh.
I do like De Bruyne's 2-game week stretch, but
yeah.
KDB is a great pick. KDB is a great pick.
Yeah.
Salah against Spurs, I know he can score against, and same at home to Southampton. That's a really good fixture for Mo.
There we go. Tom Turner, Rashford, or Rodrigo for Zaha. Thoughts? Chazza, would you?
Out of the two, I think Marcus Rashford, but not by a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rashford's in great form at the moment, and you got to strike while the iron's hot. Also, I do fancy Man United's fixtures a little bit better than Leeds' fixtures at the moment.
Yeah, lots of green.
So that's my thinking at the moment. In fairness, that wasn't even my thinking. People just give me ideas.
You didn't do any thinking then.
No, I didn't.
It was a discussion, though. I liked it. I enjoyed the discussion. I think you've got some good opportunities to make some good moves. Don't listen to anything that we say, of course. Just do the opposite.
I know.
Miggy, I'm on.
Listen, Captain Miggy, mate, is all I'm saying.
Could be a good show, genuinely.
I wonder if that's a differential captain on CC and Chaz this week. Anyway, Rev, you can go up next, mate. Go.
Yeah, I think again for like the 14th game week in a row, I'm sat here looking at my team thinking this is a scary team. This team could bang. Like this team could do really well this week. And so
I think you just enjoy Premier League players on paper, don't you? Any Premier League player in your team, you're like, it's a scary team.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we've got triple Newcastle, triple City, triple Arsenal, Harry Kane, the devil himself, Danny Ward in goal. And And so yeah, this week it was quite 2 easy transfers again. So Darwin Núñez, after doing absolutely nothing last week, and I thought, maybe it's finally Núñez time. For the second time, I've been hurt by him, emotionally damaged by this guy. So he's gone out for Callum Wilson. Go on, Jack.
Nice. I'm just looking at your team. I'm going, I think you're right. It does look good.
I'm like, I don't know how I'm doing so badly.
I know you're in the relegation zone. You're bottom of the podcast mini. You're nearly 10 millionth in the world on the game week rank.
Yeah,
and
yet my team looks this good.
It's Ward. It's all about Ward.
I know.
Ward's in your lineup this week. You could actually kill it.
So Zaha went out the team as well. The fraud for a -4.
This is what I wanted to do, by the way.
Yeah.
Preview predictions. So Chaz, Arsenal fan. What's your prediction? Arsenal versus Chelsea this week. Score.
I'm going to go 3-2. Win us.
Oh wow, 3-2 away at Stamford Bridge. And Rev, obviously you've got the triple up in there. Do you think Arsenal win?
Yeah, and I think they win by some margin.
After Brighton battering them.
Yeah, they're one of the best attacks in the league. Chelsea look incredibly suspect, especially at the back at the moment. So yeah, I'm thinking an informed Arsenal who are off the back of a 5-0 win themselves, and Chelsea off the back of a 4-1 defeat. I'm backing Saka and Martinelli to get something in that game for sure.
And when you say that, right, and you look at your Newcastle form, the fixture for City, the Arsenal form, and then you go Kane against Liverpool against a leaky defence.
Yeah,
your team, it looks sick. Apart from Everton might smash 6 past Leicester.
Every week, I think. Oh, maybe this is my week that I get Manager of the Week in the Members League. Every week I look at it.
Only the elite get that, mate.
Mate, well, this is what I mean. And instead, I'm just swimming on 30 points or whatever. And I just don't know how this season has happened so far. I think there was an amazing stat on Twitter flying around last week. Is that there were 15 goals scored, and 12 of them came from players who were less than 2% owned last week, and it just goes to show the variance in FPL right now. It's so difficult to pick who's going to get the attack and returns when you've got players like Bentancur for Spurs doing the business, and Harry Kane sat there on 1 pointers. It's just, what can you do?
Yeah, not much you can do there, mate. But your team is looking great in there. You feel like there's, 3 wins in there for the teams in there, and also goals in there. So well, listen, I wish you well, mate. This could be your week to kind of step back up again, get those points on the ladder, and climb back up. So yeah, we'll see how you go. Over to the top of the table, or to Jilla's Killers in there.
Are you top of the table, mate?
Do you know what? I love this one. I love this shout here from FPL Sandwich. Thanks for joining in. Take a shot every time Gary Neville says he's top of the
week. Mate, I'd be wasted. Absolutely wasted.
Do you know what? I think I've been doing that with my pepperoni. I'm a bit tipsy now.
Yeah. Mate,
been playing my own game.
I'm just jealous, to be fair, man.
Oh, crazy. I'm absolutely blagging it, obviously. So let's have a look. So Guaita in goal for me. Still, obviously, Palace been hanging in. Save points for Guaita. I think he's getting more kind of save points than last season. He's in the bonus, so pretty happy with him. Trips, Cancelo and Cresswell at the back. West Ham with a fixture against Palace at home. So hopefully it's green on the FDR. Followed the green on there, to be fair. But in midfield, Rashford, as we said earlier, United good fixtures. Rashford in form, just needs to convert these chances that he's getting. Zaha is still in there for me this week. Foden, definitely still in there. Feeling good about him. And then in the midfield, I've made a transfer with Trossard coming in for Bailey. Yes, that's right. And then up top, Kane, Haaland and Wilson. Wilson in for Tony. So 2 transfers made for me this week, taking a -4. But I feel, I think that's the way to go this week. Nico Williams, White dropped to the bench. I have dropped him. Don't know whether to keep him on there. or not? Or should he be playing, do you think, in that team? And who would you drop?
Look, I don't know. I reckon you should just win it, Jack. You're top of the league.
Yeah, I think you're right. Right, let's go into...
I'd potentially be looking at Zaha in your team.
So drop Zaha for White?
Away from home. I
feel like he might have a pen in him, though. That's my only issue.
Do you reckon? I mean, it's a good shout, to be fair.
Pens, in it.
I just think Arsenal are just so consistent. Like if you were going to ask me to bet in like a numerical sense, I'm looking at your team thinking, you've got Zaha against Cresswell, and you're going to want one of those two to do well, and so they're against each other, and so it depends on what you want to happen, really, and I'd make the decision from there.
All right, this is what I'm going for. Right? I'm going for a 1-1.
Chaz has
left
gone
the
dark.
building. I think he's getting a strobe light out or something. I don't know what he's doing. I'm going to go with my team, right? We've got Guaita in goal. He's going to go for save points. We've got Zaha. Okay. He's going to score a pen. And then we've got Cresswell, who's going to get an assist. So that is my plan for this week with that team so far. However, White might be an option. But White or Zaha, if you're watching online and you're watching live, get in the comments now. Would you start White or would you start Zaha? But a big thank you for everyone joining us so far. We're going to head into Captain's Corner, CC with Chaz. He stayed up late for this one. He's in. He's going a bit crazy. He's going a bit insane. Every time he mentions bed or sleep on this next one, take a shot if you are watching live and you've got a drink in your hand. Chazza, take it away, sir. Are you ready?
Look, honestly, Jack, it's 11:48 p.m. I should have been in bed well under 2 hours ago. But we do have some names to get through.
2 shots.
And these aren't the names from the latest RBT episode. They're just the Captain's Corner. So let's get into it. So Erling Haaland, first to Man City. He is one of the top 10 most transferred out players of the game week with 160,000 sales. However, he's returned in every home game this season with 12 goals and 3 assists from his 6 home matches. Looking at it from an opposition perspective, Fulham have just kept the 3 clean sheets in their first 14 matches, which is the same as Nottingham Forest and Leicester City. In other words, equal worst in the league. Looking at Haaland's penalty conversion rate, just for something different, we'll just spice something up. It's at 93%. He has scored 28 of a possible 30, and in his last 13 penalties he's had, he's scored all of them. Let's go to Kevin De Bruyne now. His other Belgian teammate is playing Fulham as well. In his 5 appearances against the Whites from West London, he's had 1 goal and 3 assists, which is also the same amount of goals and assists he's conjured up in his last 3 games played at the Etihad. De Bruyne is the 4th most transferred in with 300,000 new managers. And there's good reason why, with back-to-back home games before the World Cup begins for the reigning league champions. He registered the most shots against Leicester City of any player on the ground with 5. And in the Champions League, despite only coming on the pitch for 20 minutes, he is still as promising as ever, having 3 shot assists, creating 1 big chance, and ending up plucking a goal assist. Thank you very much. Let's go to the duel from Tottenham versus Liverpool. Harry Kane first. Now, firstly, his last blank came at home in the opening game week. What's today's date? The last time I checked, it was the 4th of November. His blank at home last time came in roughly the 7th of August. His 15 appearances against Liverpool, he's had 7 goals and 2 assists, and he assisted Pierre Højbjerg's winner against Marseille. In that game too, he had the most shots with 5. He had the second most equal amount of shots against the Cherries too. Only Højbjerg managed to muster more than him with 4 last Saturday. Mohamed Salah, in his 11 appearances against Spurs, he's had 5 goals and an assist. and an assist, I should say. He scored in a 2-0 win against Napoli midweek, and he did score a goal against Leeds. And with that, that was a great reward for his dominance in front of goal, having 7 shots, which is the most of any player on the pitch, and 3 shots on target, which proved to be the equal most. Just as something different, we don't have one, but we've gone bang with another. So we have 2 curveball captain choices this week. What a deluxe edition. First off, with Callum Wilson for Newcastle, away at Southampton. He's on fire. 2 goals and 2 assists against Aston Villa in their 4-0 home win. He's the most transferred in, with nearly 1 million new managers acquiring his services. In his 10 appearances against the Saints, he's managed 4 goals and an assist. This is also including his time at the Cherries. He's blanked once at home this season, which was their 1-0 win against Everton. In his 8 home games, he's had 5 goals and 3 assists. And for João Cancelo, just quickly, he's had 10 returns in 14 league games, including 3 double-digit hauls. And City's next 4 fixtures are rated as a 2 on the FDR. Right now, I'm hanging on a tightrope and I'm hanging by a light bulb. I don't know what you call this sort of edition. I've heard it's a bit slow-mo. Thanks for coming. Honestly, I don't know how I've survived this long.
All I can see is the Blair Witch Project in the camera. Unreal. Chazza, the Duracell battery himself, has run out of juice. He needs recharging. Chazza, just for people who've just joined the stream, can you just relay your captain picks? Blast them out. Go.
Sure. Haaland, De Bruyne from the Spurs-Liverpool game, Harry Kane, Mo Salah, and your 2 curveball captains are Callum Wilson from Newcastle and João Cancelo from Manchester City.
Mate, great work, great stats, great content. Mikey, are you still there? Have you gone?
I think I'm being followed.
Oh.
You genuinely look like something out of the Blair Witch Project, mate. It's so...
That was the Halloween, the belated Halloween special of CC.
It was
with
so
Chaz.
good, bud.
So good, mate. Great content, great captain picks. Love the João Cancelo one as mentioned. And Callum Wilson, obviously 1 million managers have brought him in this week already. Surely primed for a captain's pick. Would it be rude not to, Mikey?
I think my captain's armband is going on Haaland. And my vice captain is probably going to go on Callum Wilson. I'm going to go for that curveball captain, just in case Haaland is out. I think he's in great form. Got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Good pick. Chazza, are you backing yourself with any of them picks?
I'm going to go Erling Haaland, if I'm going to be dead honest. Yeah.
And what about your VC? What about your vice captain?
Mo Salah.
Mo Salah. For me, I've got Haaland on with the armband, and my vice captain is on Foden. But I actually might switch it to Foden as captain for me. But knowing my luck, if I do that, he is going to get dropped and he will be rested and come on as a sub, of course, as it is. But listen, thank you everybody for joining us on the stream tonight for Game Week 15, wherever you're watching. Big thank you for joining us. Thanks for everyone who joined in the comments live as well. Always enjoy the comments. Hope you enjoyed the nonsense and the banter. But jump in the link tree in the caption below to find out how to get involved in our mini leagues. If you haven't already, we're still open. You can still join them. Not a problem. And a big thanks to our sponsor, Bonus Bank, for supporting us in the community this season. Australia and New Zealand's fastest growing side hustle. Make sure you check out their details in the caption below on how to take advantage of Bookies promotions. It's free to set up. Have a look around on there. Great software. Really smart stuff the boys are doing there. You can save 25% on your first premium month if you do upgrade. We've got a discount code on there for FPL Addicts. So you can put that in and you can save 25%. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. As we mentioned, we'll be back next week, hopefully with a review show at the start of the week. And of course, the preview week for Game Week 16, the last one before the World Cup. And hopefully we will be launching our World Cup fantasy football as well very shortly as soon as FIFA sort themselves out. But keep an eye out on our socials for any updates. the tip is on there. The hot tip from Maggie is on there too. So, yeah,
Yeah.
lads, thanks for joining us. Chazza?
One last thing, just for this
Go on,
last
mate.
one for last preview before World Cup. Any danger of having all 6 of us on? Honestly.
Oh, get the team back together with a full lineup. We've got more rotation than Pep going on, haven't we, in this podcast?
It's a good way. It's a good way to put it.
That's it, mate.
Brilliant.
So you never know who's going to turn up and who's going to play. It is more mysterious than Pep himself. But hopefully we can get all the team on for next week. Ozspike, thanks for joining us from the Philippines. Love your commitment, and thank you everyone for jumping in and saying to hit the like button as well. But until then, until next week, good luck this weekend. May all your FPL dreams.
I hate you, Rev.
We'll see you next time. Take care.